Hello there. My name is Edwin Romero, and this is the Out of Office Chat. It's been a minute. Thank you all for joining in. A lot to go over. Definitely a lot to go over. Trying to catch up with over what's been happening over the last month. But today's agenda: post Easter trends, growing pains, and Professor Edwin. Now, a couple of things, a couple of formatting changes. It doesn't affect anyone that's listening through this audio, to the audio through Spotify, through Apple Podcasts, but this platform I'm using called Riverside.fm. It's a web app where I can record basically the podcast. It offers the opportunity to go ahead and record video. So that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm also recording video in tandem with the audio. So for those who want to go ahead and record the video or see the video, online or whenever or wherever, I'm recording it. I'm gonna upload it to my YouTube channel under my Edwin Romero SEO channel. Now, so that's the first thing off the agenda. Post Easter trends. It's been about a month. I know I'm trying to do it every 2 weeks, but it's actually pretty darn difficult. Pretty darn difficult. Actually, going back to the formatting change with the video. Now, if you haven't really known this about me, I don't do any editing for this at all. Like when I'm done with the podcast, I upload it as is. Reason being is I want to make this. This is supposed to be a hobby, something fun to kind of chat about what's been going on. I don't want to edit it. I've edited videos. I've edited music files. I've edited audio files, I should say, and it can be pretty darn, time intensive. Um, I don't want that. So you're gonna get it uncut. Edwin at its rawest. Even through like the ums and the uhs, as well as me drinking and sipping on my. Today, what I'm doing is a latte, iced latte. You can hear it, and water. So yeah. I apologize in advance if that's not up your alley, but it's cool. Just hanging with me. So going back to the agenda, post Easter trends. So I know it's been about a month since I did this, and the goal was to kind of do this every 2 weeks. So it's a little bit difficult, particularly around Easter time. I think Easter was maybe like a few weeks ago. But with Easter, it was a busy both on the SEO front as well as the family business front, so the distribution business. From the SEO front, I had a couple of business opportunities that came down the pipe. So trying to make sure that I get that going and trying to plan out my next couple of months, which honestly leads into the other agenda, which is agenda item, Professor Edwin, and that's a whole thing to unpack, and we'll talk about that in a moment. And I know, folks, I know this is supposed to be the out of office chat, but it's so hard to kind of separate the professional and the personal. But we'll keep at it. Only reason is because I'll be thinking about these new ideas even when I'm not on the clock, when I'm driving, when I'm going ahead and performing these tasks around the city, or just little things. I even find myself going ahead and listening to YouTube videos, and I'll talk about that in a moment. So it's hard to separate it two, but again, this is why we have that, to talk about this stuff outside the office, and what's been going on. What's been going on in my personal life, and out the office, outside the office. So as far as like the new business, it's been pretty good. Just trying to plan out a couple of things for SEO, and ultimately, trying to get the next couple of months in a good spot, and honestly, just to make sure I can breathe a little bit easier, and a lot of that segues into Professor Edwin, and kind of what that's been going on the family business front, on the distribution front. It's also been busy because Easter holidays. The Easter holidays are always pretty darn busy for I think Latinos, and I think Catholics in general. I think Christians as well. I'm not really sure. I'm not. I should know more, but I don't. But for us particularly, there's a dish called fanesca, and trying to make sure that all the businesses get things like that in order, the proper grains and the products, and because we're kind of like a wholesaler, want to make sure that all the other groceries and restaurants and whomever, they get all the products they need for the Easter time. So that was pretty wild, and even that, and since then it's been a little bit more mellow. Um, now it's kind of like going back to growing the business and making sure that we're as performing optimally as possible. That's always a lot of fun. So it's been busy, but the last month has been just kind of planning out what the rest of the year is going to last. Not even the rest of the year, but the next couple of quarters are going to look like on both fronts. um, and on top of all that, trying to make sure I keep my head from spinning, if you will. Just yesterday, I think last time I spoke, it was a spooky wookie episode where I talked about the UFO books. So I kind of scared myself from that, from the topic. So I had to take a break. It's freaky, man. So I went to the library yesterday and picked up a couple more books. So this one, I mean, there's a few here. I'm not even gonna talk through all of them because I don't even know what they are. But the Book of M, then Pieces of Her, and then I have Now Is Not the Time to Panic in the other room. Um, I even went to the librarian and I was like, I want like a thriller. I want a mystery, something that'll keep me like, because I read what's that one book? What's that one book about? Da Vinci Code. The Da Vinci Code. That was awesome. So I read that and I want to kind of like be entertained, but on the edge of my seat. And the librarian recommended this. She showed me a book. She's like this here. She pretend this is the book. She's like this here. This is good one. This is a good one. And the author is known for having it be mystery thrillers, but not in the typical sense. And she's like, you don't know if it's actual human doing it or something else. I was like, no, thanks. I'm good. I'm gonna read the book before I go to bed, and the last thing I need to think about is ominous, freaky stuff like that. That's why I took a break from the other book. So right now I'm reading a comedic book, and I'm hoping that'll be good. A couple good laughs before I go to bed. Um, but like one of a couple things that have been happening also in the last month is I kind of came off of coffee. Or well, not coffee in general. I still drink decaf. That's what I go to. My go to now, decaf. This here, right here, what I'm sipping on right now, is from a place called Dark Matter, from a few blocks away from here. It's pretty darn good. It's decaffeinated, but it's called an horchata latte. If you haven't had horchata, do yourself a favor. Have some horchata. It's amazing. What is it? Cinnamon, I believe, cinnamon and some dairy. So it's pretty darn good. Go like a Mexican restaurant, grocery store. They might have it, or make your own. What's it? It's cinnamon and rice, I believe, rice water. It's pretty darn good. My wife made, I think, an horchata strawberry once, or strawberry horchata, and it was pretty good. She's awesome with making cool recipes. So I came off of that, and the reason why, especially over the last month when it got really busy, I would have my coffee and I would just be wired up, running around, and I still do that. I still run around one place to another, but it's an added layer of, I guess, anxiety. That I really didn't like. I didn't really enjoy. I still get that level of anxiety, especially when I have a lot of things on my docket to knock out. But I don't really need the caffeine. Now, granted, when I looked up whether or not decaf coffee still has caffeine, apparently it does. But I think it's much less. It's much, much less. I think it's like 90 or 80 milligrams versus the typical 1,000 milligrams, or the gram of caffeine in a typical cup of coffee. And I don't think it's the end of the world if I do have a cup of coffee. My wife brewed a little bit too much this morning, and I had some, so I'm not super wired up, but just trying to cut back on a little bit, trying to be a little bit more in control of kind of my mood and my attitude, which I'm trying to get back into breathing exercises, folks. If you haven't really tried breathing exercises, I give it a shot. In terms of what that really means for me is being cognizant of my breath. and breathing through my nose. So being able to breathe through my nose and ultimately keep a rhythm of my heartbeat. It's way it's easy to lose sight of that when you're going about your day and kind of like talking right now. I think I'm breathing through my mouth, which isn't terrible, but I think there are some scientific studies out there that say breathing through your nose, that I don't think humans were meant to be through the mouth, or it does affect us to some extent. I don't have the research in front of me, but it's stuff I've heard. So with that, I've been trying to do that, and one of the other things I've been getting into, I noticed, and it's a movie. Yeah, I'm not basing my breathing techniques off a movie, but it's John Wick 4. John Wick 4. I saw it last week. It was awesome. It was amazing. Made me really want to, do more active things. But if you notice throughout the entire the fight scenes, John Wick doesn't breathe. It's mostly pretty calm. And Keanu Reeves, man, he's a pretty cool cat. I really enjoyed it. I was really looking forward to it. I made it a point to not look at any new trailers, any kind of look what's coming down the pipe in terms of movies for the year. I don't want to. I want to go in there fresh. So it was a good movie. I really enjoyed it, and the choreography, and it's not just action for the sake of action, which it is. It's a lot of action, but the choreography behind that, the action sequences are just amazing. They're nonstop. You're kind of wondering how, first, Keanu Reeves, John Wick as a character, how does he do this? But also Keanu Reeves, how does he keep up with all these action sequences? Now, I heard a really cool thing. Keanu Reeves was in an interview, and I think it was Smartlist. It's a comedic podcast where they interview actors and actresses, folks in the film industry, or the TV industry, and they had Keanu Reeves on there. And one of the members, one of the trio, asked Keanu Reeves, or mentioned Keanu Reeves doing these stunts, and Keanu Reeves was really, really offended by that, because he didn't call them stunts. They were action sequences. They're not stunts. So he takes that very serious. And in any case, it was a cool movie. I really, really enjoyed it. But I don't even know how I got to there. But the breathing, please be cognizant of your breath. I think for me, it helped me a ton. Just to kind of be in the moment. And that's kind of the thing I'm trying really hard over the last couple of years, is just be present. It's easier said than done, because honestly, I'm creating one business and I'm helping manage another. And on top of, like, again, being a family man, a father, it's small things, it's small things that you kind of neglect and put to the side, and things like breathing and exercising and stuff. Now, I'm not exercising. I went to the gym once in the last month, which is much better than the last couple of years. But at the very least, I can try to kind of, be more present. The next item on the agenda, I'm gonna take a sip of my horchata latte. Give me one second. I'm telling you, if you all haven't had horchata, give it a shot. It's pretty amazing. Or try some. Try some of your own. It's not that hard. At least it didn't look like. Like, my wife made it, and I was like, that looks pretty cool. Give it a shot. Growing pains. Growing pains. Now, this is a topic. It's not really, around me, but it's around my little one, our son. In the last month, he's also started daycare, and oh my God, I don't know if y'all have little ones and send them off to daycare, but it's something else. We got fortunate. A couple of our friends recommended this one daycare in the city where they speak to the little ones all in Spanish. They're all Spanish speakers, and the faculty, I guess, speaks to them in Spanish, and then the little ones, they can speak to each other in English or Spanish. But I'm not sure if I mentioned in the past, but we're trying to make sure that our little one, we speak to him only in Spanish, and it's really cute because now he's saying things in English, and he has that little Hispanic accent. You'd be like, one for you, one for me, and it's freaking cute. But he started that. He started daycare not too long ago, and it's it's easier now than it was when we started, but it's also pretty hard because, I think he's so attached to myself and my wife, and and his maternal grandparents, that I think he does he does get nervous about going to daycare, and I trust the daycare. So I trust it because a couple of we have a couple of good contacts there. The parents are really nice, and I think they're very diligent about the quality of the daycare. They love the daycare, and I love it too. And I think it's great exposure. It's his first time at a daycare, um, but it's also a lot of changes. It's a lot of changes for my little one. He's a lot of changes for my little guy. He went from being in just one household, which was my suegros, my in-laws, to a couple of locations for throughout the week, and it's hard. I think kids love stability, and it's tough to see. My wife and I were talking about that last week, and I it's one of those other things. Life. Life moves fast. Sometimes you stop and really don't think about it, and that's kind of like that's on me, right? That's on me, and I can imagine, as hard as it's been on my wife and I, it's only probably been harder on our little one, not really understanding. But he's getting better. Like he's getting better. I still struggle though, how to approach it in the mornings because now he's gotten into the habit of every morning he asks, "Dónde vamos? Where are we going?" Last week I tried something new where I'm not lying to him. I'm not lying to him. Because I don't want to lie. I don't want him thinking like it's okay to lie. But when he asks me, ¿Dónde vamos? I'll be like, oh, pues vamos al cuarto, a la sala. We're going to the living room, to the other room, or vamos al carro. So I'm kind of prolonging the true destination. So that worked one day. And he's not going to daycare, every single day. It's part time, which may or may not make it easier. I'm not really sure. Um, but at one point, this then a few days passed, and he asked the same question: "Dónde vamos? Where are we going?" And at this point, he was getting a little nervous, and it's always thinking about kind of like how they process it and what their behavior is going to be like, and kind of like what behavior you're modeling, right? Um, Not necessarily reflecting, but kind of what environment do you have the little one in, and essentially what the behavior is. So the environment is essentially, in our case, in this scenario, um, I wouldn't tell him where we were going, not lie to him, but I wouldn't tell him. I would kind of like prolong the destination. But then a day when he wasn't going to daycare and going to a relative, which he really does like, he was asking "Donde vamos?" But this time he got very, anxious, like he was whimpering, like "Donde vamos?" Because like he kind of felt as if something he was dreading was coming up. So I mean, I told them where we were going. So we were going to the relatives, because I didn't want him to feel anxious. I don't want him to get off on the wrong foot like that. And it's not nice. I'm sure it's not pleasant to feel anxious on where you're going, dreading it. So I told him the truth. In this case, it was going to a family member's house. But then the next day came up and he was asking the same question. And this time I think my wife was helping me just because I I didn't know how to treat it. I want to make sure all things are equal. And, I don't want him knowing the days that I don't tell him, or the days he's going to school, we call it, to daycare, and the days I do tell him, or it's wild stuff. But we told them, and he was whimpering for a little bit, and then when we got to the daycare, he was tearing up, but he was actually pretty like not consolable. Like he wasn't crying, he was just tearing up, and he walked right through the daycare. Um, but that's different. That's different for me. I've never really had to go through that, and I guess as a dad and as a parent, I'm sure, we're just trying to figure it all out. We're trying to figure out what's best for him, how to approach things like that, and I'm sure it'll get better. But it's tough. It's tough to see your little one get a little anxious over it. So that's why I call this segment "Growing Pains." Because it's only gonna happen more. He's gonna go to actual school, grade school, in a few years, and in college in a couple of decades. Um, So I'm not gonna tell him, like going into university in his car, him asking me "Donde vamos" at 18, just prolonging. I'm not gonna do that. So I think a part of it is just kind of helping him assimilate to just kind of changes. And changes are never easy. I think with a toddler or a little one, especially, because they they only know so much of the world, and something as drastic as going to a daycare or going to a new environment, it just upends their world. I believe, but it'll get better. It'll get better. The other part of it is him sharing. That's a very interesting one. Um, I I've read a couple of articles on how to help toddlers share. I think a part of that, based on what I've read and listened to, it sounds as if though at that age they really don't, they can't disassociate themselves from the object that they're sharing. Like for example, he has a blue toy. A train. Let's say a train. He has a train, and if another toddler tries to play with the train, I guess there's not really, in his mind, it's his train, and if someone else takes it, there is then he may never see it again. Something to that degree. Uh, I guess behavior and psychology at that age is totally different because they don't have. I guess I do believe toddlers are innately benevolent in that they are good, but they also they don't, sharing doesn't come natural to them. At least that's how it might be with my little one. It might be different for other folks, and I think that extends to their parents because one of our friends, they have a cute kid. They he approaches us. He approached my wife, and my little one got pretty aggressive and stuff like that. It's like, no, kind of pull back. Don't how do you explain that? How do you teach the concept of sharing? And no, we're still going to be your parent. I don't know. It's new territory for both of us, my wife and I. But we'll get through it. There's what is it? There's no way. What is it? Only way through to overcome something is to go through it. So that's what we're gonna do. Let's go through it, and it'll get better. So the last segment is there's a ton to. You know what though? This horchata latte, man. It reminds me of it. It reminds me of the Nesquik, like the powder stuff, like the cocoa or like the chocolate. Like when you've had like the milk and you kind of put the chocolates. I mean, I'm just because it's decaffeinated doesn't mean it's healthy. I'm sure it's chock full of sugar, sugar goodness. Um, but it's really good. So the next segment is Professor Edwin. There's actually a lot to unpack on this segment here. So Professor Edwin, and this is one of those instances where it is career related, even though I'm supposed to be talking about the out of office, like what's happening outside the office. This is actually a big component to kind of like my mindset out of the office. So one of the things I'm trying to gear towards is passive income, and that's the goal for, I guess, anyone, right, is to achieve passive income to a degree where it's supplementing your regular income, so you may not have to worry as much, or just you may afford a few luxuries here and there. I think with my case, it's nice because that would kind of give me some breathing room on both fronts, on the SEO front and the family distribution front, to take care of a few things. So one of the areas I've been focusing on in the last week or so is online courses. So I don't know if you all know this about me. As an SEOer, I do have a specific niche, a couple of niches. I may have mentioned it a couple of times, but it's website migrations, moving sites from point A to point B, and making sure we retain search engine authority, or SEO authority. But my other niche, which I've married the two over the last several years in my career, is Salesforce Commerce Cloud, which is an e-commerce platform. So I'm thinking, maybe creating an online course, marrying the two. I have some ideas. I've started working on the outline for what the course may look like. And we'll see, I don't know. It's a lot of investment in terms of energy and time. And I'm moving towards that direction. I've been ideating around what that's going to look like. But I still have some client work I have to take care of. I still have some client work I have to make sure my client work is top notch, because at the end of the day, if this is passive income, it's only supposed to supplement your income. If it will it replace all my income? I don't really know. I mean, that'd be great, but realistically speaking, I still have to do client work, and I have to make sure that client work is top notch. So with the whole online courses over the last week or so, yesterday I took the day off. Most of it was spent doing chores around the apartment, but in the background, listening to just YouTube videos on online course preparation, and how to kind of like make sure that your course is pretty successful in the long run, or at least right off the gate. And some really good tips. I think what I was going to do, is use a marketplace called Gumroad. I'm not sure if you all have heard of it, but Gumroad is an online marketplace where you can sell digital products. Oh, and I made my first sale last week. You believe that? I have. So going back to Salesforce Commerce Cloud, I had a file out there that kind of helps folks redirect or move pages in the platform. It's not intuitive. It's a little complex, and I built out this file. I got my first sale last week, so oh man, I wish I had sound bites and stuff to give me clap. So I went ahead and made my first sale. Now, I only got 2.5-star review, and that's my fault. That's my fault. Like for that one product, the customer may not have. I'm not even going to say the customer. I may not have provided the value or how to use it properly through through the actual product page. So that's a learning for me, right? That's something for me to kind of understand how I can improve the experience on presenting the product. So that's something I want to do over the next month as well, next couple of months, next quarter or so, is improving the product page for that specific product. But for the online course, make sure the experience is as sound as possible. That includes outlining what the goal is, who it's for, what the takeaways are, what kind of transformative changes may occur because of the course. So it's all stuff I've been reading. So it's good. It's good advice. So, but over the next couple of months, as I begin to kind of put effort and energy into that, in addition to balancing some of my client work, one of the things I have to kind of like keep in mind is how not to burn myself out. And I've been thinking contracting, not contracting, but finding contractors to kind of help supplement the work. And I'm pretty excited about it. I am talking to a contractor right now, so he used to be a mentee of mine. So I'm pretty excited to see how it goes. And we're still in the works, kind of getting like the paperwork out of the way. And then, that comes down to like IRS paperwork, tax work, and all that good stuff. And that's something new to me. So trying to figure out what the ideal thing is for that. And, they're not employees, but they're contractors. There's a huge difference. Employees get benefits. I think you withhold taxes as your business. To pay the tax man, the government. But a contractor is different. You're not necessarily liable or responsible for the taxes. But this person is overseas, so in a different country, so it's a little different. I'm still learning how to navigate. But we'll get there. We'll get there. So, trying to find folks to support some of my client work, particularly those that require research and just just seeing where it makes sense. But in addition to that, what I see happening over the next couple of months is me working on, content for video, content for my blog. So trying to build up this kind of workflow that can help facilitate kind of efficiency and throughout the content creation process. And it's something that I've been trying to do for the last couple of years, and it's tough because you, as a content creator, as someone who builds out something, you have a vision, and you have to make sure that whomever is helping you out carries that vision. But that entails so much, because I mean, it's your vision, right? So the other day on LinkedIn, what I did was I reached out. It was a quick blurb, but I was basically asking, my network, how do you use kind of these, what do they call it? Knowledge bases, these repositories. If you're not familiar with them, I mean, those who work in kind of there are a couple of repositories or knowledge bases out there, including Confluence, Notion, and that's well, those are the best two. I think I was on the fence about both of them, but basically all I do is just gather information from different parts, or just try to house that information. And I was trying to ask my network who's used kind of like these knowledge bases in a way where it's beneficial for the organization. I'm managing two, so I was really curious about that. And one individual responded saying that it's beneficial, but only if you find that you have multiple people on your team. Right now, I mean, I'm trying to get one on my team just to get the ball rolling, right? So it might not be as critical right now, but it's stuff I have to figure out, especially if I want to make sure that the end product is meets my vision as much as possible. So then there's also things like not just blog posts but YouTube. If you're curious about where I kind of like have my presence, those are the main two, and then ultimately LinkedIn. There's three. Um, I tried Twitter, but man, I just don't get it. I don't see the value in it. Maybe because I'm not using it optimally. I feel like there's just so much noise. Instagram, I thought about using Instagram. I don't use Instagram because I believe, granted, as an individual, as an SEO, or I do have my own brand, my personal brand, but I don't think I have the persona to actually to justify an active, ongoing Instagram account, right? And I think to a degree that includes TikTok, particularly because of my target audience, my target market, and that's my target audience is mid-sized organizations, e-com brands. So I don't really think a lot of e-com brand managers or SEOers, they make decisions based on what they see on Instagram or TikTok. I mean, I'd be a little worried if brand managers, are like on Instagram and TikTok trying to figure out solutions to their like big web ecosystem. But it's possible. Who knows? But from what I found, I've had pretty good success with my website, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So I'm kind of honing in on those, trying to make sure that those are all right. Um, but we'll again, like anything else, everything else, we'll see how everything goes. Kicking it off with contracting. Eventually, I like to kind of establish and build out kind of these workflows for getting YouTube out there, YouTube videos out there, blog posts. LinkedIn is a little bit differently, to a degree. I think a couple episodes ago I mentioned AI, and kind of what it might mean, and I have used AI. I have, not to write content, because I'm still a little wary about using AI generated content to, put on my site. But I have used it to create a YouTube video. So what I did is I took a blog post that was on my website. I went ahead and got all the text, put it into Chat GPT, and I asked Chat GPT to go ahead and pull out the main points, the headlines, and then it did that. It was freaking cool. But in addition to that, I told ChatGPT, I'm looking to create YouTube videos. So would you be able to extract 5 ideas for YouTube videos? And that's what it did. So it gave me one idea, which was, I think, around communication on for SEOers in these ecosystems. And then I asked ChatGPT to even go a step further and have 5 takeaways for that idea, that YouTube idea. So that was a pretty cool way to do it. And I think, I mean, it's not gonna replace all the responsibility in your life, in your career, but it can be a tool, right? Like anything else, you just have to know how to use it. I'm still figuring it out. Yeah, I'm watching some folks use like image AI, folks who basically pull the transcript from videos, and make them into blog posts. It's pretty neat. I mean, there's potentials there, and I think my sentiment's a little bit different from where it was a month ago or so whenever I recorded that episode. Um, but there is value there. Again, it's not going to replace strategy. It's not. No tool I feel can do that. It can supplement it for sure. But yeah, and I think over the next couple of weeks, it's going to be very interesting. On top of the contracting, on top of these ideas I have going on, I am actually facilitating a podcast episode. Not my podcast episode, the Out of Office Chat. Rather, it is a podcast for Digi Marcon. which is digital marketing conference in the Midwest. A contact of mine put me in touch with one of the hosts, folks that are running it, and they had asked me if I'd be open to hosting their podcast, and I said sure. So let's do it. It's going to happen in 2 weeks. They gave me a slot for having my own panel, but I'll be honest. I think it's important, kind of like I'm only as successful as you allow me to be, right? And I think the communication can be a little bit better. So I'm still excited about it and see how it goes. But the resource, some of the tools and things I may need it. I mean, we're down to the wire 2 weeks, and I still have to find panelists for the session. I have a couple of ideas, and I'll probably reach out to them maybe this weekend or maybe on Monday. But ultimately, I'm excited about it. Meet new folks. I want to get business cards for that too. One of my old one of the CEOs from my old agency, he had business cards, and I was like, that looks like I want to get some of that. So we'll see. It can be an interesting couple of weeks. But yeah. Oh, last thing, not work related, folks. Don't forget Professor Edwin. At least for now. I shaved my beard, guys. Look at that. And these are the perks from the YouTube video. These are the perks of video. But I wanted to try something a little different. And I think a couple episodes ago, I mentioned how I was trying to grow out my beard, learning kind of how to beard groom. Now I have a goatee. My wife was worried that it was going to make me more look older. I was worried it was going to make me look more villainous. But I think it's not bad. We'll see how it goes. I think my beard is going to grow in, it's going to blend nicely into the goatee. So we'll see. We'll see on the next episode. Well, that is all I have, folks. Thank you so much for sticking with me. Hopefully y'all can catch the video. If not, you can catch this on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Feel free to reach out. Happy to have a chat. And then honestly, we'll take it from there. See you on the next one. Take care.